Hey, how's it going? This is just a quick kind of instructional on Git. Basically, Git works pretty similarly to Mercurial in that repositories exist on some web host, and we'll just be using Bitbucket for the time being. I'll give you this link for the repository, but basically once you get that link for the repository, you're going to look for the repository link with the word .git at the end. So normally you could do this through command line, but I'm going to show you how to do it through SourceTree. So if you open up SourceTree, you'll likely get a menu that looks like this. What you can do is you can do new, file new, and you're going to do clone from URL. Then you're going to paste in the URL that has the word .git at the end. So it's this guy. And then it has to start with HTTPS. So that's the protocol that it's going to clone from. Then you're just going to type in whatever your path is supposed to be, just like that. And what this will do is it'll create a folder in this directory. So you would just do it like that. So basically, this is where the path is, and then this is where the folder goes, or this is the name of the folder. So it's going to create a folder that's named this in this directory. So you hit clone. Let's try it like that. Sorry. So I guess I had it backwards. So full path, which is the folder where it's going to go, and then the name of the repo. So hit clone. And it's pretty fast just because there's nothing in the repo right now. But if we open up our folder, you can see that we have this newly created folder that has nothing in it. Now that there's nothing in the folder, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to add in stuff. So this is the old project, and all we really need from the old project is the project settings and the assets. Library, OBJ, and temp are not necessary. So we just drag those in. And also the csproj, the SLN, are also unnecessary because those are generated locally for you. So these have been pasted in. So when we click here, SourceTree is going to tell us that we have a bunch of stuff. So this screen here for SourceTree is basically what, it's called the file status, but basically the way it works is at the bottom here, you have a list of what's called unstaged files. Unstaged files mean some files are in this folder, but we're not tracking it, or there are changes to files which are tracked. So basically it's just, is there stuff that's different from the repo? And you can see that it has all of the script files, all the materials, all the assets, and everything like that. And fortunately for us, everything that has to do with the library and the temp folder is currently omitted. I'm going to add a git ignore, which is very similar to an hg ignore in Mercurial. So if we go ahead and stage all these files, so to stage them all, I hit this checkbox at the top, and it took a little bit of time because it was staging about 600 files. So now you can see they're quote-unquote staged now. When your files are staged, that means you are able to submit them as a change list. So Git basically works like this. There is a text file that exists on your machine called the index. The index is basically like a ledger of all of your changes. So if you don't have anything staged, then your index will be blank and you can't commit. So you stage your unstaged files and it adds it to your index. So now that I have something on my index, I can commit. So now I'll just do a commit message, right? Just like that. And then you have the option to push immediately. So just like Mercurial, you're allowed to commit and then push. But since it's generally more convenient to commit and push at the same time, I just usually check this option. But you can totally commit locally several times and then push if you wanted to. And it's committing. It's going to take a while because there's 600 files that have to be added. But when it's committing, you can see the full command line. I would say don't worry about this output unless you get an error, in which case you can just copy paste it to me. But this is actually the full command in the command line if we were to look at it through get. And the get command line is really not too different from learning any other command line interface. But get has a bit of a learning curve in terms of how all of its commands work. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, as far as other buttons that are important, commit here is going to take you to your file status, which is just going to show you the delta between your local checkout and the repository. You have history, which just shows all the change lists, search, which allows you to search for files. Do not worry about branches. We're just going to worry about one branch. Don't worry about tags. Don't worry about remotes. Stashes are like shelves on Perforce. They're very, very useful, but I would say you probably don't need to worry about it. Submodules are basically like repositories that exist inside of repositories. These create a lot of organizational overhead, like you have to micromanage them, and we're not going to use them. Subtrees are a new feature, and I actually don't know what they are. You have your standard 3 buttons here: pull, push, and fetch. Pull grabs the changes from the repo. If you have a conflict, it will not merge automatically. It'll say that the files need to be resolved. Push is just like Mercurial. Fetch is also just like Mercurial. Basically, it checks to see if the server has changes, and if it does, it will notify you. It will not actually change anything on disk. Branch creates a branch. Not going to worry about it because working on one branch. Merge is just as you'd expect it to be. And stash is literally just another duplicated button for stash. View remote allows you to see the status of the repo as it exists on the server. Show and finder just shows the repo locally on disk. The terminal opens up a command line. I don't know why they have an extra button for it. And then settings here is just settings for source tree. So that's literally the entirety of how source tree works. So now the command is done. I'll hit close. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to clone the repo and you will get all of these files. So I'm going to give you the link on Discord, and then from there you're just going to do a git clone, just file new, clone from URL, just like that. You'll type in the repo here and the URL here, just like that, and then you'll create your own thing just as I did.